Hey, thank you for joining us again with part two of Ask Pastor Mike. A question someone asked, and they emailed me a question at askpastormikeo@gmail.com. And here was the question. It was, does God choose your spouse, or do I get to choose my own spouse? That was the question. And we answered partially in part one, but I want to give you another answer for this, because I said this was a good question, but we talked about better questions to ask. Like, listen, here's the truth. Insanity, they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But think about it. You've been choosing your person over and over and over again, and you still got a line of X's in your past, which indicates that, listen, you're not making good relationship choices. So why not ask God, who is very qualified in doing this? And I said, and I told you all before that there are better questions to ask. And let me give you the best question to ask. Not, does God choose your spouse, or do I get to choose my own spouse? Here's the question that you should be asking, and here's the best question to ask. And it's this: who has God already chosen for me in my singleness? That's the question that you should be asking. You're saying, wait a minute, Mike. You mean, who has God chosen for me already in my singleness? What does that mean? Simple. Listen to the question. Who has God already chosen for me in my singleness? The key word being singleness. The answer is in the Bible. The Bible tells us. Let's read in 1 Corinthians 7, verses 32 to 34. I'm reading from the New King James Version. Listen to what it says. It says, "But I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord." Watch this. Verse 33 says, "But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife." Verse 34, "There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares about the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she who is married cares about the things of the world, how she may please her husband." Notice what he's saying is a better question. Who has God already chosen for me in my singleness? He gives the answer. What is the answer? In other words, when you're single, at the end of the day, your life is to be devoted to the Lord without distractions. It's your life is devoted to him. In other words, Jesus has chosen himself for you in your singleness. That's what God has chosen. He's chosen Christ for you in your singleness. And if you can just focus all of your affection, all of your attention on giving the Lord the three things that this passage said. What are the three things? The first thing he said, that we're here for Jesus' pleasure only. That's in verse 32. We're here for his pleasure, to please him. What makes him happy? When we're single, what are we thinking? Okay, this is what I want. This will make me happy. Somebody who will care about me, who cares about my future, who will listen to me. We're only considered about what pleases us. But he says, this is when you're single, you need to care about what makes Jesus happy, what gives him pleasure. But the second thing, it says that you want to deeply care about the things of the Lord when you're single. Care about what he cares about in verse 33. Then the third thing is this in verse 34: discipline our behavior by being holy both in body and in spirit. He said, in your body. We get single like, okay, this is what my boo wants. This makes him happy. I need to see how it works before, I put a ring on it. All this stuff, your body is yours. But he says, if you're single, your body belongs to the Lord. You must be holy. Live a righteous lifestyle in your body, but then not only that, in your spirit. That means the hidden motives of the heart. What are your hidden motives of the heart? They ought to be holy, set apart for the Lord and his pleasure and what he cares about. If we do this, think about this. If we do this, If we live our singleness like this, guess what? God will yoke your heart and your body with somebody who's worthy. He'll actually do that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Are you ready for this? If by chance, just by some chance, God doesn't give you someone, it won't matter. Why won't it matter? Because it won't matter to a person who's devoted their heart like this to the Lord, because Jesus will be all you've ever wanted. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I don't want anything. I just want you, Lord. So if you don't want me to have anybody, I'm fine, because my heart is devoted to you. When you say, preacher, I ain't there yet. Okay, well, let's stick to where you are. Here's why this is the best question. This is the best way. This is the best thing you ought to ask. Is because by living your life devoted to the Lord in this way, not only is with the Holy Spirit, he will make you trustworthy to receive a person by sending you somebody of his choosing. He will make you trustworthy where he can trust you with somebody that will be that's a match for you. But watch this. But now he's preparing you to keep the spark and the fire burning in your marriage. He's going to keep that spark burning in your marriage by you having this kind of relationship with the Lord in your singleness. Literally, I've seen it happen. Without you'll have such a spark in your marriage without neglecting what pleases Jesus. You'll have such a spark in your marriage without neglecting what he cares about. You'll have a fire burning in your marriage that doesn't go out without neglecting a lifestyle of holiness. It will be reserved for you. This will be the Lord's pleasure. It will be his delight. Let me share this with you. I remember me and my wife, we started doing a meeting with married couples once a week, and we would meet with them. And before I met with them, the Lord told me what we needed to talk about. It was a small group. He said, talk about me, talk about praying, talk about them talking to me about prayer, teach them how to pray. And I said, okay. So we started just talking about the Lord. We didn't talk about any of the marriage tips. You know, when people normally go and get in marriage groups, they talk about how to keep a healthy marriage, you know, how to avoid conflict, how to do this with your mate. You know, we didn't talk about any of these things. I just talked about what the Lord told me to talk about. We talked about him and how to talk to him and have a prayer life and spend time with them. And it would seem strange, and folk wanted to talk about you know, marriage things. But what happened was, we saw in that group married couples, there was a spark beginning to just reignite even brighter in their marriage, because they were drawing close to the Lord. Literally, we at one period, we weren't talking about marriage tips. We were just talking about the Lord, and we had husbands that were having encounters with Jesus that they never had before. Supernatural encounters. The marriage was being sweeter. They were having a good time even together, even in private and even in public. And I shared this with somebody at another church, and I was telling them about, you know, you all should come and just you know, you don't have to go to the church. We just have just different married couples come together and we talk about the Lord. And I gave them the testimony of what God was doing. And they told me this. They said, well, yeah, but we need something, you know, I need tips and stuff for my marriage, like what to do, what not to do. I can't see how just talking about, you know, the Lord, which is good, but I don't see how talking about the Lord, you know, and not really dealing with the practical step-by-step to-dos in marriage will actually help my marriage or even help other marriages. And they did not understand the issue. And I try to relay it to them, and I'm going to relay it to you. Listen, I've had history of telling married couples, okay, here's what you need to do to make the marriage have a spark. You know, this is how you communicate. Do this and do that. And it was just beautiful. It works. But guess what? When it was time to do it, when they had conflict, they couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. We would say, listen, when you get mad, kiss each other for 10 seconds. And we had them practice when we do marriage counseling. They did it, but when there was a conflict, when they left there, they wouldn't do it. They were too prideful to do it. They were too mad to do it. So even if you give people all the right tips, guess what? It's hard to do it when you're offended at your spouse. If your spouse is not listening to you, you don't want to do those things. You don't want to communicate. You know the right stuff to do, but you can't do it. You refuse to do it. But here's the thing. But if you're intimate with the Lord, guess what? He deals with the issues, the reasons, the root problems of why it's hard to do these strategies and use these tips in your marriage. He will deal with your pride. When you spend time with him and be intimate with him and devote your life to him while you're single, even in your marriage, and you want to do what pleases him, guess what? He'll deal with the selfishness. He'll deal with your mouth. He'll deal with your anger. So then when it's time to implement all the marriage tips and the practical tips, guess what? You know what? God dealt with your anger before you got into with your wife or with your husband. And now guess what? You're going to swallow your pride. And I said, baby, listen, I'm sorry. It was my fault. I was selfish. Let me close my mouth. I know I can come with a good argument, but you don't need me to prove a point. You just need a listening ear. God deals with that, but it happens in the place of intimacy when you devote your life to the Lord and you let him deal with your heart and with your body. I'm telling you, this is the right question you need to be asking. Who has God given you? He's already given you a person in your singleness. Focus on that person. And who is that person? It's Jesus. Devote your life to him and let him deal with your heart. So then when you're married, guess what? Your spouse will be like, man, I got a good wife. I got a good husband. He knows how to love me. Why? Because Jesus, who is love, has already taught you what love looks like. Listen, I hope I answered your question. If you have more questions like this, please email me at askpastormikeo, as in Owens, @gmail.com. askpastormikeo@gmail.com. And I love these questions. Keep sending them in. I can't wait to answer them. And I hope you're blessed by them. God bless you. You have a wonderful day.